So let's dive straight in today and really cover a few reasons why not to buy the new book that came out recently. If you've not heard of it, it's called IBS Inversion. It's all over the banner at the top. But the book isn't for everybody. And the last thing I would want anybody to do is go invest a little bit of money in a book, potentially get to the point maybe halfway through it or even at the end of it and think it wasn't really for me. So I want to share why today, because obviously you're looking for answers and you may be stuck with IBS. If you're watching this, I'm guessing that's the case. And I'm going to dive into a little bit of a story in a second, which is gonna, we're gonna look into that and then pull the curtain back on why not to get the book. But then more importantly, trying to help you move forward in maybe some other areas. And also if the book is actually for you. So before we start, I want to give a shout out to where I heard this story from, Ed Myler, which I love him. And I was watching some of his content recently and he shared a story about 4 philanthropists. And it was kind of strange because when I heard that story, it was like it really spoke to me because it was really pertinent to men yourself, struggling, stuck with IBS. The book that I've written, IBS Inversion, really the story spoke to that, and it's to do with suffering in comfort basically. That suffering could last for a long period of time. In many cases it can last for years, and it's the same with IBS. People suffer with IBS. You might have been suffering for 6 months, it might be 5 years. Some guys that we've worked with, historically, they've had IBS and they've been suffering for 10, 15 years. So it's a long time. What do we mean by suffering in comfort? Well, we're going to cover that and hopefully be able to work it out with a story, and then we'll wrap it up at the end and then talk about the book, why not to buy the book. There was 4 philanthropists that kind of came along to this village. Now the village, just to give a bit of context, had been involved in a conflict, some kind of war, and what had happened is all the men ended up in prison in that village. So all the brothers, the fathers, the husbands, the dads, they were all inside this prison camp in the village with all the women left to fend for the children and kind of run around. So you can imagine that they were in a prison in their own village. They were in these prison cells and they were suffering. They were sleeping on the cold hard floor. They were undernourished, so they weren't getting much food, much drink. The water was disgusting. It was really dirty, polluted water. So they're getting ill from that as well. So they were in a really, really, really bad way. They were sleep deprived and things were not going well for these prisoners. And there's 4 philanthropists. They wanted to do well. They wanted to give back in the world. They had everything they felt in life, and they really wanted to, feel good and give back, as philanthropists do, to make make a better place and help people. And the first one came along and he noticed these men, suffering, and he said to the prison, warden, Can I give them some bedding? I've got a factory. I make duvets and mattresses and pillows and so forth. Can I gift them all with a mattress and some bedding and some pillows and at least make their life comfortable so they can sleep better instead of these hard floors? The prisoner said, yeah, that's okay. If you want to do that, crack on. So he did that, and the men, they had a good night's sleep, they were comfortable, and they were, away from the hard floor, away from the cold floor, and they had that level, a little bit of comfort at night. But obviously other things were still pretty grim. First philanthropist, he felt good, thought I'd give him back, happy days. He fulfilled his destiny, so to speak, in that respect. The second philanthropist came along and he looked at the men and he's like, I can't believe they're drinking that water. It's disgusting. It's full of rubbish. It's polluted. It's probably got bacteria in it. They're getting worms. Look, I can give them fresh water, bottled water. Can I come in and give them, if needs be, while they're in here, an infinite supply of water, bottled water. It's fresh. It's clean. And the priest said, yeah. If you want to do that, you can do that. So the second philanthropist, he came along with all this water, gave them it, and they, so now they had nice beds to sleep on at night, and they were drinking healthy, clean water, which, as the time went on, they were, feeling a little bit better, more hydrated. Some of their illnesses were disappearing. And the second philanthropist, he felt good about himself because he'd helped these men. They now, all these men had this nice water, and he felt good about himself. The third philanthropist came along, and he noticed that these men, they weren't eating properly. They were skinny, they were undernourished. Their gums were all bleeding and whatever else. And he was a farmer. He had this humongous farm just outside the village, down the road. And he said to me, look, to the prisoner, can I give them food? I've got fresh vegetables, I've got fruit, nuts, meat. Can can I give them some food? The prison said, yeah, if you want to do that, it's not going to cost the prison anything, you carry on. So he donated all this food, so now the men, they were a lot happier, they were a lot more comfortable because they had that food, but they were still suffering, they're still in prison, they were still had the harsh conditions of the prison and the cells. The third philanthropist, he felt good about himself, he brought this food along, he gave back. The fourth philanthropist came along and he was a saint and he did something different. Fourth philanthropist gave each of the men a key for the prison cell, and he spoke to the prison warden, cut a deal, and he gave them, the keys for their cells, giving them the ultimate freedom, ending their suffering. Back into the village, they could meet their wives again, their girlfriends, their partners, their children, and have that freedom again, and live their life, fulfill their dreams, their opportunities. The reason why it kind of touched my heart and I wanted to share it with you is it's like that with IBS, with men with IBS, the suffering is there, the unpredictable flare-ups, the IBS attacks, the diarrhea, the constantly sat on the toilet, or if it's constipation, feeling bunged up, bloated, all these things, and generally get through that by taking supplements. We maybe try some medications we keep going back to the doctors, we try different tactics, different methods, we read this, we read that, we try all this stuff because we're trying to get that small time comfort. But realistically, if we're honest with ourselves, we're still in suffering. The suffering doesn't end. The suffering is there. It's been there for years and it's going to be there for years to come if we don't do something about it. And it really breaks my heart to see that so many people in the world, millions, millions and millions of men that are not getting help. The help is a simple process, and it's just getting the keys. And that's why I wanted to share this with you today as well, because as much as I can sit here and tell people that, you need to be committed and you need to put the work into, whatever methods and program that you go and do to get out of the suffering from IBS, then the biggest thing, and it's covered in my book, is it starts with this. It starts with the mind. It's all mindset. Everything starts with the mind. But more often than not, we stay locked as a prisoner in our own mind. Just like the prisoners in the story before the philanthropist came along, that they were in that prison cell, suffering and living like in horrific conditions. And then they were getting that level of comfort. And it's the same with IBS. I've adjusted my diet slightly. I maybe believe that you are gluten-free and you've not really been tested for it, but you don't eat bread, and maybe that gives you a level of comfort. But then it's back to square one. Or maybe you've got diarrhea or constipation and you're taking supplements or medications for that, and that's easing the pain a little bit. Maybe you're taking painkillers, but they're all band-aids. If you've got a bleeding neck and your neck is spurting out blood from the jugular vein, then clearly you need to sort the jugular vein out, or it's just going to you can't just put a plaster over it because it's still cut inside. The internal problem needs fixing, if that makes sense. And it's exactly the same. If you want freedom from IBS, if you want to get out from the pain and end the suffering, and not just keep doing short-term comfort blankets, just having them a little bit of comfort. Oh, I'm all right now. I'm okay now. But then really you're not. If you're honest with yourself, then it's getting the keys and escaping from that prison cell, the sentence of suffering with IBS permanently. There is no cure for IBS, so please don't confuse with what I'm saying, and think that I'm saying there's a cure for it. There is not a cure. Absolutely, I would not say that. But there is things that you can do, systems, with the right people. Unfortunately, there's not many people out there that have a gold-plated solution to taking you from where you are now and giving you that state. We do, and I'm not saying we're the only people, clearly I'm not, but there isn't many, because everybody else, unfortunately, not because they don't care, but they give out band-aids. Most of the people that you see online, and I cover that in the book, So I hope all that makes sense. Now, if you're watching this and you're resonating with that and thinking, actually, I want to stay in suffering, I am suffering, and I can get along with things by just keep doing the comfort, the things that are giving me that short-term comfort, then the book, diving back into when we started the video, is not for you. So please, don't go buying it. There's a link for the book on the desktop of this YouTube channel. There's a little Amazon button at the top. I want to clearly get the Kindle out as soon as possible to bring the price down so that it's more accessible for people that are on maybe a lower budget. And really that's the book is my gift to men, because it is not a book, and again, don't buy it if you think it's going to be, and I explained this in the introduction, so I want to share this with you now, is if you want an IBS book that's going to say change this with your diet, or do, you know, eat this or eat that, I'm not going to do that. And the reason I'm not going to do that is that would be just doing what we said earlier on in the story. I would be giving you like a comfort, as you will, like comfort blanket, a band-aid when you're in suffering. So that's the point. If it's pretty simple really. If you're in suffering, if you're a man with IBS and you're sick and tired of having IBS, but you really feel stuck and you don't know how, you know, what's going on and how to get away from it, because it is difficult. It is really, really difficult. And that was why I spent hours upon hours upon hours and weeks to write that book, to, you know, to put that book together, to help you identify in yourself what's going on upstairs in the mind, what's keeping you a prisoner in there, and why you can't move forward. It's a vehicle to help you transport you from where you are now and give you some skills so you can move away, taking, you know, intelligent action that's going to get you the outcome that you want, and not just keep giving you these short-term comforts. Because that is the end state. That's my objective with the book, is that people grab it, you know, men with IBS, not for women, it's tailored for men, that men don't get enough help, and men are different to women in many, many ways, and, you know, not nearly enough people out there are helping men with IBS. It's all women or mixed, but that's what we do. We only help men. If you want more information about what we do, I won't keep you on here. That you can check out our website. If you've got any questions or any comments, please, you know, launch them below. Always dive in here to answer those questions or comments to help you out, move forward. Who the book is for? So we've looked at, you know, very quickly who it's not for. It's for intelligent, ambitious, professional men that want help, that want to get unstuck, that want to end the suffering, you know, identify what is holding them back. Initially, it has to be down to you to make a decision, to take action, to get in help. And that's what the book will help you to do. But it'll help you identify what's been preventing you and holding you back all this time. And it'll also give you some insights from the thousands of men that my wife CharlieJeane has helped, you know, well, when they were stuck, having their feedback throughout the years, and it's kind of just all, you know, piled into that book, as you will. But it's absolutely going to be a game changer. It's already, I've had, you know, like I say, tons of feedback already from it on Amazon and through our Facebook group, IBS in Men. Clearly in the book there is an option to discuss working with me and my wife at the end, but it's not a book based around buy from us. I've got literally, apart from the book, there's nothing to sell you in that book. There's no supplements, there's no, you need to buy this next, you need to buy that next. Not at all. I have nothing to sell you in that book, other than it's there to help you as a vehicle to getting you unstuck. Hope that makes sense. That's the book in a nutshell. And clearly don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because as I said before, it's going to do a couple of things. Really want to get this message out to as many men as possible, and I need your help to help me and my wife do that. And the reason I say that is men typically suffer in silence. You may be one of them. You could be watching this now and thinking, yeah, you're right, I've been suffering in silence for a long, long time. And there'll be other men that are out there, you know, help me help them, help somebody else. You know, let's spread the word as much as we can by subscribing, you know, and maybe you want to click the like button so you can come back to this again later on. Then it'll help YouTube, you know, get it out there to more people, and we can help change the world, so to speak, with men with IBS, because it's not nice. And the other thing then is my gift to you as well, is if you keep an eye on these, we release videos in and around IBS, and my wife, she's a registered dietitian, she's an absolute guru. She's helped men with IBS for a long time and had nothing short of amazing results for her clients, and she shares a lot of stuff with you guys on here there. So clearly if you're in the market for that, you're in the right place at the right time. You know, we don't BS, we're not going to give you any fluff, we're just out there to help you, and we're here to help each other. You know, my belief is, guys, we're all on a journey. We're all on a journey through life in different aspects, whether you're in business, whether you're in fitness, IBS, and we're all at different levels, you know. And we you know, some of us are way further down the line financially, spiritually, you know, healthily, and I believe, you know, we're put on this planet to help other people. That's my belief, and I share that belief with my wife, with CharlieJeane, and that's what we want to do, is help you guys. Happy with that? Any questions or any comments, launch them below. I'll see you on the other side.